Welcome to Inside the 90. So this is a very exciting episode for us. So sometimes just scheduling guests and podcast studio time and everything gets really hard. So we're super excited that after 24 hours of just all the recognition in the world that we have a special guest in the studio today. Taylor Swift!
Whoa!
Welcome, Taylor.
Congrats on the new album launch.
Podcast yesterday, the Kelce brothers, you know.
First time on the Kelce brothers, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So it's just awesome that we've got Taylor in the studio with us today.
Man,
so,
I'm excited for this episode.
But she's got to fly on, right? She's got other places to be.
Absolutely. So. All right. See you guys.
Taylor has left the building. So now we're going to talk about today's topic, which is what's called GWC, which that's another EOS acronym. But Andrew, what's GWC mean to you?
Yeah. So GWC stands for gets it, wants it, and has capacity to do it. So when we think about the people side of our business, we want right people in the right seats, right? Jim Collins, we want the right people on the bus. That's what we're going to build our business off of. But in EOS, we can actually put a definition to those items. So first, right, people live our core values. So the definition there is built into our core values. Right seats is that people are in the right seat. So it starts with the accountability chart, clarity on the roles and responsibilities, and then GWC is how we determine if somebody's in the right seat. So gets it, wants it, capacity to do it. So let's break those down a little bit. So gets it.
Yeah, gets it. I think, after hiring and managing people for several decades, some in my own organizations or businesses that I started, other in larger teams, really that idea of what's a good job description and how do we hold people accountable to it is, I think most organizations struggle that because it seems a little bit subjective.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ambiguity in it, but that G is what we all want. Like you can look at someone regardless of roles and responsibilities and just be like, hey, do they get it?
Yeah.
And so I think that first G of get it, when applied to, hey, do they get it? The right person on the bus, right? But then it's in their function. We got 5 to 8 roles and responsibilities, right? And you're just able to look at each one of those and be like, all right, well, here's this function. Do they get it?
Yeah.
And then wants that capacity to do it. But
so let's break down get it for a minute. Like let's just talk banter about get it, because sometimes these get construed of like, is it one, is it get it, is it capacity? I don't really know. But get it to me is like, here's a story. So leading sales and marketing for iDashboards, a soft B2B SaaS technology company. And we hired a sales rep that one of the roles is that they need to go to trade shows. Right. And a lot of times I'm at trade shows as well. And we're at a trade show. And there's certain things I don't think that I would have to tell somebody about a trade show. Bring the business cards. Come in with your shirt tucked in. At a trade show, don't sit in a chair behind the desk, right? Like stand in front and engage people. So those types of that's a get it component.
Yeah.
Like you should just understand innately what it means to do that role.
Yeah, because if you're the right person in the right seat, you get what the seat is and you get the function or the responsibilities that come along with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what get it means to me. There's also other examples when, somebody's on the leadership team. They have to understand what get it means to be a leader in the organization. And it's, in the EOS, we have a tool called LMA, which is 5 leadership principles and 5 management principles that define that. But there's other things about being on the leadership team. What is said here stays here. One team, one vision, one voice, right? Take full responsibility, whether it's in your discipline or not. As a leadership team, we take full responsibility. Participate appropriately. Silence equals agreement, right? Like all of these things that being on a leadership team, that also, you have to get what that means.
Absolutely, yeah.
You have to have the perspective of the entire company, not just be siloed into your area.
Yeah.
So gets it really depends on the roles we're talking about.
And then the W is wants it.
Mm-hmm.
What's it look like to really want it?
The way that I always say it is like you want somebody that wants to better the position of that role. not just I want to do that job to be paid well, but I want to like optimistic about what the role is and how it impacts the organization. And I can impact those processes, the way we do those roles and responsibilities. Like I want to better that position.
And then it's also, it's someone can explain, like, I understand that's a responsibility. Like for me as a founder of a business or an agency, you end up being the face to that and have a lot of responsibilities that have to do with, hey, I sold something, I'm leading client strategy. I totally get the function of account service, right? I can lead other account service people. I can define the role. I don't want it. Like in my job, like that's the first thing I want to give up is that's just not something I want, even though it happens to be part of my function right now. Right. Or you go through seasons where you got to wear multiple hats. But that even though, when you don't want something, when you do want something, sometimes just that assessment of understanding, like, this is my job. Yes. So I get it. I have capacity to do it. Right now in this 90 days, I don't want it, but I've got to want it. Right. Yes. So I have to mentally switch that switch to be like, I don't want this, but I have to want this. Not applicable to all roles, but definitely for me in my journey of founder and kind of delegating things off.
Absolutely. And I think that comes to delegate and elevate, which I think let's talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole nother aspect of it. I think in a lot of ways, there is a wanted component for you in the account services because you want it to get better than what it is.
Correct. Yes.
And you care about those roles and responsibilities and you get how to do them. But ultimately, it's a bottleneck in the organization and we need to delegate that from you. And that's where your miss on want it comes from today, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So that's a good one to call out though. So then we have capacity to do it.
And my question on capacity, is that mental capacity? Are they smart enough? Or is that time?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I always say capacity is this: mental, physical, and skill set. So mental capacity, do you have the ability to fully understand and get what this is? Even mental capacity is like what's going on at the home and all these different things. Like, do you have the mental ability to really do this job well?
Yeah.
Right. So like a physical capacity, same thing. Like, are you physically able to do this job the way that it needs to be done? And then skill set, experience, those aspects. There is a time component in it, but I do want to be careful because I think sometimes everybody just goes straight to the time component. Well, that's not what we're talking about here. That's where we need to delegate and elevate. And there's a tool on how we know when somebody's time capacity issue is there. And that's what that looks like. But for capacity thing, here's an example of like the, like if I go back to that person we hired for trade shows, right? So if I go to that exact same example and somebody shows up and they are great they know what to do behind the booth, they bring the business cards, they're absolutely fantastic on it, right? And they want to get better at it and they care about it. But the day 2 of the trade show, they slept through they hit snooze and they didn't get up.
Yeah.
Because they were out drinking the night before. And this happened. That's a
fictional story, right?
Yeah, fictional story, right? But now that's capacity issue.
Yeah.
That's a capacity issue. They do want it. I see it.
They get it.
They have capacity. Yeah, they get it. But there's a physical, mental capacity that's stopping them from doing that well.
So when you think about, so what we're talking about is someone, the right person in the right seat. That seat has these responsibilities. We can have a conversation around GWC. It's both a self-assessment and then a way a manager or leader can assess a team as well. But so how do you engage with employees on that?
So I think it's important to maybe bridge this gap. So that's what GWC is. That's our definition of the right seat. And if somebody's in the right seat, GWC. Now, let's just break apart what we're GWCing, because we're GWCing all of their roles that we have established in the seat they're sitting on the accountability chart. So when I ask, does somebody GWC, I'm going role by role by role by role. And so a lot of times what happens and what I see is we build this accountability chart out once. And so we just kind of pencil whip the roles and responsibilities. but they need to be like the screws need to be tightened on them. They need to be aligned with the team. And that's where we engage that team. Our team member is like, our expectations of a team member are very simple and clear.
Yes. Yeah.
It is to live the core values, to GWC the roles and responsibility in the seats, which will show up in your rock completion, your measurable completion, your to-do completion, right? But if we aren't aligned on those roles and responsibility, and we know what those 5 things actually mean, and we're going back and forth on them and detailing them more and like fully aligned, that's where the miss can be.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if I think my job is this and you think my job is that, it's very easy to be off on what those expectations are, right? But when there's clarity on the roles and the responsibilities within that seat, 5 to 8 things that are, ideally outcome focused. That's right. If you do the job well, these are the things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Then it doesn't have to be long paragraph form and a traditional job description, right? It's just, these are the 5 to 8 things that when done well, this is what the seat has to pay attention to.
Yeah. And you said outcome. I don't know if I'd even go that route. I think it's just clear roles. So like, for instance, in a marketing seat, I could just put website.
Yeah.
So anything that has to do with the website, it's their roles and it's their responsibility to make sure it gets done.
Yeah.
Like that could be one of the bullets.
Yeah.
Right? LMA, leadership, management, and accountability. That's a role about everything about leading and managing people in a team of direct reports. So that's what I'm talking about there. Now, we need the back and forth and quarterly conversations to make sure people truly understand what those are and set the expectations properly. But if that's where we can get to that point.
And then from a sequencing, it's important to note that the GWC comes after you have an accountability chart, right? People have to understand what seats are on the bus. Who's the right person to be sitting in those seats. And now that's when GWC can
100%.
come to play. And that gets rolled out in the form of a quarterly conversation. So break that down a little bit.
Yeah. So structure first, people second. So you're building the structure, building the roles and responsibility. Now you're assigning people based on GWC of those roles and responsibilities. Quarterly conversations. Okay, so there's a analogy. I'm going to shout out to Jeff Ruby for this analogy. But the Rose Garden at the White House. Do you know why there's a Rose Garden at the White House? Do you know
no, this? And wasn't fast enough to have something witty.
I know. Usually you're quicker.
Yeah, I got stuck in the bushes.
Usually you're quicker. But there's a Rose Garden at the White House for 2 primary reasons. One is it's off the record. So when you go to the Rose Garden, you walk it's off the record type of conversation.
Yeah.
The second reason is because when there's an issue that needs to be addressed and discussed, maybe there's a difference of opinions. When you walk through the Rose Garden, you're walking side by side, not across from each other. And so psychologically, you are now working on that issue together. So a quarterly conversation or a 555, which is the older terminology for it, it's like a walk in the Rose Garden. So you come alongside your direct report and you talk about what's working and what's not working in 3 key areas, which is why it used to be called a 555, which is the 5 core values typically, right? We typically have 5. The 5 roles and responsibilities in their seat, and then the 5 rocks that they're working on and maybe working on or what they're going to work on in the future. So you go through what's working, not working through that lens. So going back to the concept of the GWC and the roles and responsibilities, that's one of the 3 areas we're going to talk about. So we use that opportunity to align on the roles and responsibilities, to tighten the screws on them. Do we know what those things are? What's not working from your roles and responsibilities? Is there any ambiguity? Or there is a role that you don't like that's draining your energy? How do we, right? All of those aspects. How's your capacity in those roles? Do you want it? Right?
And that opening question, if I'm talking to someone and website is your responsibility. What I have found is the first time you roll them out, have a conversation and let your your team self-assess, right? It's a one-on-one, but you're like, all right, when it comes to website, do you get it?
Yeah.
Let them answer. And maybe is an appropriate answer, right?
No.
No. It is
not.
yes or no, right? You look at each one and you're like, do you get it? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And do you have capacity? Do you want it? Do you have capacity to do it? But it's a yes-no conversation. And the goal is be honest,
Yes.
right? And in giving feedback to someone, it's not a, hey, you're an 8 out of 10. It's either you get it or you don't. Either you have, you want it or you don't. Either you have capacity to do it or you don't, right?
Yes.
And that want one is like the most important one, right? Because you can coach someone up on to get it or capacity. But if someone doesn't want it, right, that's when you're having a conversation about, all right, now we have an issue. What can we do about that?
Yeah.
Hey there, I've got a favor to ask really quick. So we appreciate all the feedback we get, people that are telling us they're listening to the episodes. And it's just cool because we do this, we're passionate about it, and we just want to let other people into our conversation. So Andrew and I love getting feedback, but we'd love, if you don't mind, we're getting close to our 999,999 followers. So if you'll just push subscribe, you may be our 1 millionth follower, which is our goal. Also, if you know someone that this conversation would be beneficial to and you want to share it to them, that would be great too. So again, we appreciate you. If you don't mind, subscribe, even give us a rating. That'd be awesome too. Thank you.
And I would even challenge the thought on you can coach somebody up on Get It. I think there may be some of that, but I think you're going to hit your head against the wall more often than you're not.
Yeah.
I think capacity is the one that we can
kind of skill based.
You can skill base and put training involved and some of those things. But to get it and want it truly is it needs to come from the team member. I think it was Don Tinney said this, that all misalignment in an organization stems from somebody not wanting it. And it could be somebody that wanted it in the past, but now they don't. And so that creates a little bit of a crevice that can turn into a crater on that misalignment. So that one-at-one is really crucial in that. And when you have that first conversation with a team member, okay, we did this good work. We have the accountability chart. And I know those roles and responsibilities. Now I need to set the expectation with my team that our expectations are right people, right seats. You have to live the core values in GWC, the role. That's the conversation I'm having.
Yeah.
Like I want to be really clear about expectations. Are these two things? So you're setting that stage and you're having that self-assessment and open conversation website. Okay, well, we may need to talk about what the website, what that role means and alignment on that role, right? And then that's GWC. And then now that we have that, we can layer on measurables that tell us those roles and responsibilities are being done on a weekly basis, which then roll up to our scorecard. So all of this is connected in that expectation.
And then two other aspects of this, once you're focused on GWC, in my experience, many organizations you wear multiple hats. What I found in rolling out EOS early, a lot of times leadership team members are in multiple hats.
Yeah.
And so talk about these two parts, and I'll let you figure out which one to go first. One is, hey, I got multiple hats and I don't want it, right? Or, hey, you got to get rid of some stuff. Like whether you GWC it or not, it's too much. So talk about wearing multiple hats and also the delegate elevate.
Yeah, so the multiple hats thing, extremely common. 80% of the time, people are going to have 2 seats at times. So you're going to have multiple hats. So you just have to understand, and this is what I love about it, is that there's clarity through the accountability chart. And if I have I sit in these 2 seats with these different roles and responsibilities, I'm literally wearing a hat and I take it off and I put on a different hat in order to achieve those roles and responsibilities. And if you're an integrator or a visionary or the owner or the entrepreneur or whatever it is, you have to recognize what hat you're putting on during that activity or during that time. It's an important thing to note, though, that when no matter what hat you think you have on, if you're in a meeting or a conversation with a team member, they're ultimately going to see you with the hat of the most authority.
Yeah.
So even if you are putting the sales hat on and you're the owner, they don't see the sales hat. They see the owner hat.
Yeah. And that's something I struggle with. I mean, a little bit of story is I started a business young and did that for about 12 years, and literally my name was on the door. And I always say that I don't want employees treating me like my name's on the door, right? But it was. And I didn't realize, because that was my whole professional experience, was starting a business young for myself for over a decade. And then I went corporate and I joined a 2,500 person organization. And the freedom that I felt immediately just to be my function, a person on the seat, the right person on the right seat on a different bus.
Yeah.
Actually was amazing. And as an entrepreneur, as a founder, you get so wrapped up in your identity. And even though it's accidental, right? It becomes a part of you. But there was so much freedom for me just to be a person on the bus, to where people could look at me for my seat versus being the founder. And in every conversation, like I'm saying, hey, let's, mark this up and change this and do that. They're seeing you as, oh, his name's on the door. I just have to do it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And as much as you try to negate that, it's just, it's human. It's human nature that's the seat that they're going to put you in. But that's why it's so crucial to delegate effectively and build out, right? Like understand how to delegate and when to delegate and what do you do that? And I always say we approach delegation all wrong. We approach delegation as passing tasks off, which this is where we get burnt delegating. And this is my experience too. When you try to teach somebody a task, or like, yeah, I delegated that task. What now happens is that you have to follow up with that person 4 times to make sure that task got done, because you didn't pass the responsibility of the ownership. You just passed the task, but it's still on your shoulders.
Yeah.
So when we want to delegate, we want to think about delegating mind share, not a task.
Yeah.
And the way you delegate mind share is delegating responsibility. And responsibility may have 2 or 3 tasks built into that role. So on the accountability chart, I'm actually going to take a role or responsibility and move that to somewhere else.
Yes.
Into a box that somebody really wants it and they love it and they're great at it. And it's probably something I'm not great at and I don't love, right? So you're going to do that. But I'm delegating the role and the responsibility, and then put systems around to make sure that gets done appropriately. We get burnt out on delegating because we don't delegate appropriately a lot of times.
And I think there's some magic when you start with an accountability chart. Right?
Yes.
You get a good draft of your accountability chart, and then you get a good draft of your core processes. So now these are the functions, right? They've got some roles and responsibilities in them. Here's the what we do, right? Here's the the 20% of the steps that drive 80% of the outcomes.
Yep.
We've got that done. And now you're talking about the roles and responsibilities in the GWC. It's all 3 of those integrate so tightly.
Oh, man.
And it actually removes so much ambiguity, right? It's clarity. It's like, these are the functions in the organizations. This is what we do. Here's the responsibilities that support that. You happen to be in that seat.
It's amazing on how many times I'll get in a conversation, and it may be offline conversations with certain leaders or inside a session, and there's an issue that comes up. The number one tool of theirs that I pull up is the accountability charter. It's things like, oh, we're dealing with this process issue, or we're dealing with, I'm trying to think of other good examples. Like this L10 structure doesn't feel right. Like this one doesn't really make sense. Who's involved in it? Like whatever that is. This one feels like it's not really, really working. Or, man, I just feel like I'm overwhelmed with how much I have. The number one thing I do is pull up the accountability chart.
Yeah.
Like that provides the clarity and all that structure, what roles are where, who's doing what. It's amazing that like the root of most evil resides there.
Yeah. And when you think about fault the process before the people, when you have a process component that's the issue, then who LMAs
100%
the seat that owns that process?
Yes.
Right. And then it's like, hey, this is broken. It's your responsibility. So let's IDS that, figure it out. But I need you to solve this.
100%.
Right?
100%. I was talking to a leader today that she is an integrator in a business that runs on EOS with a visionary. and they're struggling with the visionary letting go of the vine on certain roles in the organization. And that is where delegation becomes. Like, this is a conversation you and I had around that. When you delegate a role, it's easy to put it on paper and say, okay, the integrator is going to be responsible for this role. But when it comes push, like, the visionary wants to like own it, right? Perfect example is like hiring decisions, right? So many times the like visionary takes it out. Well, that's the integrator. The integrator determines the people on the leadership team and when, and those, like, with input on the visionary, but you delegated that role, you delegated that responsibility. You got to get out of the way.
And because I'm visionary by nature, I'm always thinking forward.
Yes.
Right. By the time I bring something up, I've probably been thinking about it for 3 weeks.
Yes.
but what I needed to do was think about that, put it on an issue list, make sure the right person is involved.
Yes.
Delegate that off and let them solve it. Because if all I'm doing is seeing a problem and solving it and then bringing the solution to everybody, I'm not enabling and supporting my team.
No, you're creating that whiplash.
Yeah.
That is, it's now I'm just, okay, well, I thought I had this responsibility as my role. And I have been thinking through things, but you then come to me, you're like, this is what we're doing. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, my plan just goes, I'll just do what you said now. And you're creating a team that is reactionary.
Yeah.
Rather than really creating that delegation appropriately. But so when you delegate, it's truly the roles. And so how do you do this? There's a tool called Delegate and Elevate. Use that tool. But you literally look at what those roles are and kind of peel off 2 of them and create a new seed and like start to hire and start to bring that up. And that's how you can do that effectively.
And I think the 10 to 250 employee thing, in my experience, so this is my second formal implementation of EOS.
Mm-hmm.
And both were in small organizations. The first one, we were 12 or 13 people. And in the beginning, we had all the multiple hats, the complexity all around the accountability chart. We eventually got that pretty scaled out to where everybody was in the right L10 at the right time. We had the right structure. And then, I started Wonder with me, and a VTO.
Yep.
Running on EOS. I had a scorecard on Monday mornings that I sat down and did myself with my bookkeeper. And so I'm a huge proponent of the principles being applied immediately.
Yeah.
But you do the multiple hats on an accountability chart, I think, are one of the biggest challenges that people face that prevent them from actually getting traction, because you have to accept, if you're 6 people or 9 people or even 12 people, if you have multiple hats, it's not EOS that's not working. It's the scale of your organization at that point in time. And it just creates complexity.
It creates complexity and it handcuffs people.
Yeah.
Like, be free.
Yeah.
It is too, and you're holding everybody back when it happens, even though you're so afraid of it not getting done appropriately. But that's what the system is there for. The system is there to, do that. And I see it a lot. Like, I work with a couple of teams that have 2 leaders on the leadership team. So you have visionary integrator and they're sitting on the seats and all these things. And that's the number one thing I'm doing is like, we got to build this team up. You got to delegate these things. All of these other things we're doing, this is going to come back to this as a primary constraint for us, is because we're not truly delegating and elevating people to support us.
And what I found is, as a late career entrepreneur, like I was an early career entrepreneur, then I went corporate, right? And I'm doing it again. I have a lot of breadth and I have a lot of depth, right?
Yeah.
Which is a strength and a huge weakness. So we're in August now. So first week of July, we had our quarterly, and I know I'm causing some serious issues. and I we had an issue list, and I said, all right, here's what I want to do. I want to IDS this. I was like, I actually want to hear the team assess me in 2 quadrants. And I was like, just think about me.
Yeah.
And, you have, in the zone of genius or delegate, elevate, you have incompetent in the lower right, competent in the lower left, excellent in the upper right, and I call it zone of genius, but zone of genius in the upper left. And And the idea is that anything that anyone is doing below the line in incompetence or competence is draining energy.
Yes.
But when you're above the line, right, you're excellent or your zone of genius, it's energizing you. And specifically, I would assume for visionaries, this is true, that like the more below the line you are, the more frustrated, the more problems you're causing for other people.
Yes.
So I just asked the team, and there were 4 of you, and I was like, all right, first, take a few minutes and write down what I am absolutely incompetent at. And I wanted to hear this.
You asked for it.
So I got a list of, I would say, hey, write down 3 or 4 things. And 30 or 40 things later, I found all the things that I was incompetent at. And I'm always asked for the bad news first. So I was like, now flip that.
Yeah.
And, write down the things that you actually think are in my zone of genius. And we got those written down. And then for me, it was what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
It would bring us all some clarity on why the challenges are there. Because my, I'm there again, very broad, very deep in my experience, but all of the things that I'm not competent at had to do with servicing clients, the account service, the communication, the follow-up, all that. And then all the things that collective everybody says was my zone of genius was all strategic thinking, vision casting, and creativity. Yet, as a leadership team, the seat that I've been sitting in is visionary and over account service. Yes. And we had a creative director. And the creative director actually came to me before that session and said, hey, I'm not, you need to be the creative director. And I was like, no, you're the creative director. I'm the account guy. And it just brought so much clarity to the GWC for me was I get account service.
Yeah.
I didn't want it. And actually, y'all were telling me I have no capacity to do it. Yeah. So we flipped those out of that.
Do you believe that the reason it was there was a little bit of fear of it not getting done appropriately? Or fear of these accounts know me. And so like, I can't give that up necessarily right now.
I think for me, at Wonder, I am doing the pre-sale engagements, right? So I'm involved with clients maybe 9 months ahead of time before we're actually doing work, right? So I have a lot of knowledge. So it felt at our scale today more logical for me to stay in the pre-sale, lead that strategy, right, on the account service side, and then let that go into the creative team.
It's so interesting because that's the smart side of running the business, thinking this logically makes sense. Yes. But when you only make the decisions through that lens, we get stuck in these positions where but the healthy side, a team member would bring it up to you, but you are terrible at this. Yes. Right? And you've created the culture of a healthy organization that we want to talk about these things and bring to life that you have a big capacity issue, on this seat that you're sitting in, even though logically it makes sense for you to hold that. But think of how much further we can go when you let that go. And
really, I think the thing for me was I wanted to be on the front end and servicing the clients and not in delivery.
Yeah.
But my zone of genius is actually overseeing the delivery and the product and the things that we create and guiding the strategy. So as much as I was trying to get myself out of something, I was trying to get rid of a hat and I ended up giving the wrong hat away. Yeah. But it came back to just delegate, elevate, using that, getting input from others, being willing, being vulnerable, willing to listen. And it actually, there was so much freedom. When we got done with that, I was like, thank God now, I understand now that I agree with y'all. And I had never thought about it. I have most of my agency career, my title has been Director of Account Service.
Yeah.
Even though I suck at it. But it was because I'm a strategic.
Yeah. Because you get it.
I get it. And I get the strategy and I understand how to have client conversations, but the wanted capacity to do it are just not my lane. Yeah. So it's been cool to use that as a tool.
It's really, really interesting. My second EOS implementation personally, I was in the integrator seat. Okay. And we did that for a little while and I got it. And originally I wanted it. Because I was like, I have my hands on this organization and I know how we can build this appropriately. So I was confident in it. I wanted it. I saw where this thing could go. But as time moved on, I realized that my capacity as an integrator was not nearly as much of it as a visionary.
Yes.
And so literally swapping seats and going into a visionary seat completely freed me and like allowed me to live in that genius, because it just was an interesting thing for me where like I could go from one seat to another and just feel that difference of when you are truly living in the zone of genius, what that feels like.
Yeah.
And Adam Landrum, which he and I had a good conversation about energy. Like, how do you kind of understand where that is for you and do the delegate and elevate and the exercise you did? But there's another aspect that we can layer on, which is paying attention to our energy.
Yeah.
So keeping a journal or just reflecting when I go throughout the day, what gives me energy and what drains my energy. And if I can get rid of the activities that drain my energy and spend more time in activities that give me energy, oh my gosh. And can we do that and encourage that for everybody person on our organization?
Yep. And then, so that's where Kolbe, so one of the 20 tools of EOS is Kolbe. I got introduced to Kolbe via our EOS rollout. And I had been trained in DISC 25 years ago. I'm kind of an assessment junkie. Like I love the psychology, sociology, and figuring all that stuff out. And then when we did Kolbe and mine came back 7473, I was like, started thinking about that. So at the time I was the integrator for Adam Landrum. He was the visionary. And we were rolling it out and we had, a teammate. Actually, I think it's one of the episode 2 or 3 of Inside the 90 was me, Adam, and Bailey.
Yeah, that's right.
And Bailey Basie, she was like, we worked so well together until we didn't. And then I would make her cry like once a week. And I'd be like, I felt like a total jerk, But once we got our Kolbe back, we realized that we both, by role, we have similar backgrounds, like solving the same types of problems. But by Kolbe, our energies were totally different. And so I've since went on to get Kolbe certified. I'm a huge fan of Kolbe. And using Kolbe you're not labeling people, right? You're putting, you're indexing energy.
Yeah.
And the numbers just represent something that allows you to remember it, right?
Yeah.
So me, 7473, I'm a high fact finder. That means I ask a lot of information. I ask a lot of questions. And when communicating, I give a lot of, detail. I'm a low accommodator of process. So I'm a 4 in the process component. And then I'm a 7 in my quick start, which is my risk tolerance. And then I'm a 3 and my implementer, which is my need to be kind of hands-on, engaged in a physical environment.
Yeah.
So my energy between these 2 7s, are you exactly the same? Are you tied or are you one off?
I'm 7, 4, 7, 6.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're similar, but my implementer is higher.
Yeah.
Which I do like to be more hands-on and
Yeah. And so with that, we both, not too many people have the dual 7s, right?
Right.
But that means we're foot on the gas, foot on the brake, foot on the gas, foot on the brake.
Correct.
And if we've done it before, right, I'm fully informed. I don't need to ask any questions. Go. I know exactly what to do. These are your options. Move.
Right.
But context, different, new information, stop, right? So we can be with our team, start, go, go.
Which is that whiplash.
It's whiplash, right? And then Bailey, who I was working with at the time, I believe she's a 2 in Quick Start, and we worked on really big projects together. And the 7, means words have meaning, right? Very specificity is a thing for a high fact finder. So I would define all these words and stuff we would work on, and then we would get to the project, but it would be a different project, and I would say a different path in a different direction. And she was like, "What do you mean?" Because she wanted stability, and I'm always open to options. And my low process actually means that how we did it last time doesn't matter,
right?
But being able to see in the team dynamic using Kolbe where our energy comes from, you pair that assessment with the GWC,
perfect.
And you can really get clarity on, is someone in the right seat for their zone of genius?
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think all of this comes together and we talk from a lot of different angles, and it really does have this spider web effect when you break down just this one thing of GWC, because there's so many inputs and outputs of it. But at its core, we're really trying to define really quickly and simply if somebody is in the right seat.
Yep.
And so there's two halves, right? Person, core values, right? Seats, GWC, the accountability chart, roles and responsibilities, the measurables on those roles and responsibility that collect up into a scorecard. That's kind of really where that all kind of comes together.
Yeah.
But it's a collective of the entire organization that where clarity comes from.
Yeah, and then it also helps not just for your existing team, right? But in hiring and recruiting.
Oh, it's perfect.
You know, because you now have an accountability chart with clear roles and you have the roles and responsibilities, it's really easy for your team members to interview and be like, all right, we've got to establish some core value alignment, like right bus. And then we have to establish the GWC on the roles in this job. So we can build our interview process around that for this role.
Yeah.
And then it actually makes sure that when you're bringing someone onto the bus, you get them in the right seat and trying to get them contributing as fast as possible, right? With the things that bring them energy. That's going to be the highest impact of the organization.
Absolutely.
So,
well, good. I think leaving this conversation, it's kind of a call to action for folks.
I mean, I think, Kolbe, I think is a great one. So if you're working to find, if you have, how to identify where someone's strengths are, then Kolbe is great. For Wonder, we sell Kolbe certifications, work with wonder.com/Kolbe.
Yes.
Kolbe. And it's the one thing I would say about it is if you're using other things, that's great. It's the only assessment like its kind. And when paired with something like Working Genius, we use both of them. It's a great, what I call pro-personal development.
Mm-hmm.
Like you actually are using it for professional development with your team to get, everybody understanding where their strengths are, but it doesn't stop at work, right? It's just so impactful to you as your, as a leader, as a family, as a father, as a, spouse, a partner, whatever. I just think it's a huge, great tool.
I love it. And then from clarity on GWC, if needed, one is look at your accountability chart. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
When's the last time you looked at your accountability chart? When's the last time you had a true roles and responsibility conversation with the people in those seats, asking about GWC, right? Like just start there.
Absolutely.
And put more attention to what's written there. And is there alignment with everybody on what that actually means? And
I would also say the caveat this too, that it's one of the things that, takes more maturing in your EOS rollout to actually get the accountability chart well done, get your job functions well defined, getting the GWC rolled out. You're not going to implement EOS and be rolling out GWC in 90 days, right? There's a sequence there where it falls, and it just takes time, but it never stops, right? You're constantly using that framework. It's a process. It's not an event. It does take time. It takes iteration. But the sooner you start using it, the healthier the organization is.
I love it.
So,
all right, Jamie. Good talk. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank y'all.